Brian Cashman. He joins us now. Brian, today is a big day. Fried was the guy you wanted. You worked that at the winter meetings. A quick pivot and a quick move to make sure that he's a Yankee.
Yeah, he's definitely going to add to what is already a strength, or perceived strength, as our rotation. You can never have enough, and being left-handed in our ballpark also helps a lot, too.
Brian, there are so many things we can say about Fried statistically, intangibles. When your scouting department and your analytics department were talking about the pluses, what are some of the things that resonated for you?
Strike thrower, five pitch mix. Obviously, handles lefties, handles righties. He's continued to evolve if you followed his career since he became a pro. The addition, he seems to be a quick learner. Adjust as the league adjusts to him, adding pitches, mastering the pitches he's adding. He's just been it's been an art form for him, and the way he goes about it, we feel like the length of the contract is at least, there's no safe bets, but, we felt like he was as good a safe bet as you could have.
We also brought up the fact that you had not only the meeting here, but the Zoom meeting with him to get that comfort level. How important is that to have with any player that you bring, but certainly a pitcher and a free agent of this magnitude?
It certainly helps. I mean, you don't want to fly blind. I remember, one of my mentors out of the game, people I respect, Pat Gillick, who's a Hall of Famer, as a general manager for years, put together some great teams. He would fly in person and meet with prospective free agents to get a feel for who they were. And so these, at least with technology today, the Zooms allow you to add that interaction. So it kind of reminds me of how Pat Gillick used to go about it. And so it's an important, spoke in the wheel for us in terms of going through this process. So we felt very comfortable. It was a kind of a large contingent of our baseball ops directors and stuff, all having to have a chance to have at it. And, it's unscripted, so he's going to respond, as he feels or as any of these candidates feel, and you get a sense for, my takeaway from that experience was this is a genuine human being, really good human being. I think Booney spoke to it. I think he'd fit well in our clubhouse. We already got the competitive stuff down because, we followed him enough, seen how he's competing, interacted, getting a lot of information from people who played with him that we know, and our players reaching out to players that played with him, and just all those tentacles that you utilize to benefit yourself. But the Zoom closes the gap on everything else, too. Is like, is this someone you'd want to partner with? I mean, obviously, when you put a contract like this together and ask the Steinbrenners to put that kind of money down, it's a partnership. And I think that Zoom certainly helped ease our comfort level if this is someone worth investing in as well.
Brian, you mentioned lefty pitchers at Yankee Stadium. Another one of your mentors, Gene Michael, used to talk about that all the time. You've now got Fried and Rodon at the top of your rotation, along with Cole, obviously. But how valuable is it having those two lefties?
Yeah, it's certainly valuable. Obviously, we want as deep a rotation as you possibly can. It's harder and harder today, the 162 games plus October, if you're fortunate enough to get there, and that's always our goal, is to compete for a championship. Keeping these starters on the field and in play for you, especially when it counts the most, which would be is October, you just can't have enough. And so ultimately, our first big import, even though we lost to Juan Soto's offense, this free agency, was a premier starting pitcher. And I think it speaks to, obviously, how important, in this game, pitching wins championships. Obviously, you need the balance. You need to be able to score runs. You need to prevent runs with a good defensive unit behind them, but also, obviously, great pitching. And so I think, bringing in Max with the crew we already have, it protects us, it hopefully propels us, and I know he's looking forward to joining this group.
I think there was probably that perception when Soto opted to go to the Mets that it was like, well, Yanks are going to go after runs, but you went run prevention. You not only brought in Max Fried, you went Devin Williams. Can you talk about how you feel you've set things up, not only starting rotation being so powerful now, but back into the bullpen?
Well, one of the reasons we were successful last year is obviously we scored a lot of runs, but we prevented a lot of runs with some great pitching. And we lost to free agency some really quality relievers, too. Clay Holmes, Tommy Canely, Timmy Hill. Those guys got some big outs for us in the postseason. I'm sure I'm missing others, and forgive me if I am. But ultimately, how are we going to replace that? Now, all of a sudden, Weaver, was emerging as our, premier reliever out of the pen, and we just needed to add to it to give Aaron Boone and Matt Blake and our coaching staff, some legitimate options down there. So we got starters that hopefully can go deep in the game. We got some high-end relievers now with Weaver and Williams to navigate the back end, and we got some young guys that we still like, that I think can play a role, the rest of the way as we fill this thing in. But yeah, Williams is a big important import. He's been one of the game's great closers, and obviously doing it elsewhere is one thing. Obviously, he's going to have to continue to replicate that here. But the stuff is electric. He's a tough one on opposing hitters, both lefties and righties, because that changeup is ridiculous. So, I'm glad we were able to get him done and bring him in here, and I love the fact that no one saw that one coming. It was under the radar, and it was kind of a shock, because being in New York, a lot of things get out before they, get finalized. So,
personally speaking, I didn't love that one didn't get out. No, only TV. We got to go to the move you made yesterday with Cody Bellinger. How do you envision him fitting in? Is it outfield? Is it first base? And what kind of hitter do you envision him being at the stadium?
Well, I think he's a nice fit for us. He's a left-handed bat. We got our 81 home games, plus now the Steinbrenner Field games that we play Tampa in, which is the same configuration as this ballpark. He's got a uppercut swing that lifts balls in the air on the pull side. So hopefully this will benefit him and therefore us. Very athletic. He can run the bases extremely well and add some stolen bases to our mix. An above-average defender in the outfield as well as first base. So it gives us, an array of choices. A lot more flexibility and athleticism, and covers us a little bit more and gives us balance from the left side. Especially after the loss of Soto. So I think we're slowly trying to improve the defense, improve the balance in the lineup as we, put together whatever this version of 2025 is going to look like, on both sides of the ball.
What is the next focus for you? Would it be more of a focus on first base, another outfielder? What are you looking at?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously, you can't forget we have Jason Dominguez, that I think is kind of ready to be deployed potentially. He still has to earn it, and he's got to retain it. But we, he's in the back of our mind. Ben Rice is in the back of our mind too. I mean, I think he's a better version. Going through his growing pains last year, being dropped in the deep end of the pool, of learning a new position because he's obviously a catcher, but trying to handle first base in the pennant race while Rizzo was out. You saw some good moments. He can hit, and he will hit. It just depends, are we willing to go with him at first, depending on the field, and what's the field? That means trade potentials or free agent potentials at first. If not, obviously, the fallback would be him. On the infield, you have Jazz, and the beauty of his acquisition this past trade deadline was that he can play a lot of different spots, just like a Bellinger. And so, if we wind up with a third base option, he can move to second. If we wind up with a second base option, he stays at third. We have internal candidates. People can sleep on DJ LeMahieu, but he's I think going to be healthy now moving into this year, so we'll see what that looks like. We have Oswaldo Cabrera that obviously can take a shot at either third or second, or we can import an outfielder. So it trades free agents. We're going to stay engaged, see where it takes us, and I've tried to touch on some of the fallbacks at the same time.
Brian, one final on Max Fried. Ultimately, he's going to prove himself on the field, but when you're sitting next to him on the dais and he's saying things about, I know the responsibility and expectations of being a Yankee. I'm walking around the clubhouse and I'm seeing prepare, compete, win. How much are you saying to yourself, well, this guy gets it. We've made the right choice?
Well, I mean, certainly hope so. My takeaway is he's extremely smart. He's extremely competitive. When the ball's in his hand, and then I think he's also very comfortable to be around when it's not. So I think he should fit in rather well for us and the crew we have. Ultimately the job is to collect as many talented baseball players as we can get, and he's certainly a very talented baseball player. So we're excited that he's in the mix. We're excited about some of the other imports we've had, and hopefully. What we've already had stays healthy and plays to their abilities. What we bring in, hopefully, play to the expectations that we have for them. And we also know the job's not done yet either.
Good week for you. Good weeks ahead. Brian, thanks. Happy holidays. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Rob.
We'll take a quick break. We got more coming up here.